We are live right now. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Fellas. Your boy's tired. Ran 10 miles today. Got a little bit ahead of myself. Just wasn't planning on running that much. We ran. We got some new shirts. This shirt is pink. It ain't looking pink, though, right now. I don't think it's looking pink. Probably looking white as shit. But we wearing some pink. I don't know how to make this pop a little bit more. If I pull up the saturation, your boy's going to turn orange. So that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. What we could do is we can increase some of the brightness. We got people already up in the chat. How you doing? Welcome in. We got 6 games. We had 4 games in the afternoon. We covered those through the projections. We weren't going to do them on the video this morning because that shelf life would have been mad short, and I wasn't trying to feel 4 more games out. We got people hopping in already, so like, subscribe, do those things. You can watch us on the replay. We're going 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Some of the final picks live right now. So any questions that you have, bring them out. We'll talk about, obviously, DraftKings, Super Draft, Prize Picks. We'll be talking about some lineup building stuff as well. We'll use the optimizer to check out kind of like where before you put on randomness and some other rules, kind of where some of the chalk's going to line up. We can kind of tell that way through ownership, but just understanding where lineup construction is going to be. And then from there, we can get into some other things. Now, I know there's a lot of sports going on right now. There's NASCAR. There's the closing round of the Honda Classic right now in the PGA streets. There's obviously NBA going on from the afternoon. There is March Madness. So there's a lot of sports. So I'm not sure what the turnout's going to be on this, but I figured we come on for, 45 minutes to an hour, somewhere around there, as long as the questions continue to come in. I see Ryan right now is in the chat. I'll get to that question in a second. So that's what we're going to be doing on the screen right now. We can see that we have the Lakers minutes. This is going to be pretty important today. This is my projections for the Lakers today as of right now. So any specific questions that you may have on the Lakers or any teams today, projection-wise, minutes-wise, let me know. I'm going to be hopping this into the chat right now. Live now. There we go. So we got Ryan in the chat. He says, thoughts on pivoting to Irving and Beal from Harden and Westbrook for the savings today? I mean, if you're asking me which ones I like more, it's still going to be Harden and Westbrook. And you can be damn sure that Harden's going to be owned today. But I don't think Westbrook's going to come in with all that much ownership. There's value on the slate, but not enough for people to want to go to both studs. So, I mean, you don't have to play Harden and Westbrook. I like to try to get up to them. So if there's enough value, which I think there is, I can do that. But I don't think Westbrook's going to be that highly owned. You're obviously doing it for the savings, though, based on your question. So, I mean, if you're just doing it for pure money savings, sure. Yeah, I really, really like the combination of the ceiling, obviously, of Harden and Westbrook is nowhere near the same. The actual projection on those guys is pretty different as well. I've got Harden for over 60 fantasy points today. I don't even have Irving hitting 50 today. So it's obviously a big difference. The price point's going to say that. Even factoring in the price, I still like Harden and Westbrook combo out of those two. Is 4 Lakers too much today? I don't think that 4 Lakers is going to be optimal on a 6-game slate, to be honest with you. But is it too much? No. I'll probably set it so that I can get at most 4 Lakers in my lineup. So if we just hop over here real quickly. I forgot to put in a picture. Let's see. Who should we picture today? We're getting rid of you, Andrew Wiggins. You're yesterday's news, who didn't play too bad yesterday. Let's bring in the Talon Horton Tucker. Probably going to be, if not the highest owned guy, one of the top 3 highest owned guys today. Let's get him up in this box. An age-old tradition of forgetting to set this little picture box here since we added this new layouts. But we can talk about just kind of setting rules and things like that. I'll probably set it to 4 in a 4-game slate. Maybe even 3, if I'm being completely honest with you. So the optimizer is all set for the 4-game slate. I might even set it. So let's just put 37% random. Let's put a random number, 35%. On a 6-game slate, we can go 2 to 3 uniques. There's no major difference. I'll just go to 2 for now. Actually, let's go 3. Max from a team is where the question that you're asking is. So it's going to be 3 to 4 for me from max from a team today. Obviously, if you get 4, it's more than likely going to be from the Lakers unless a lot of news breaks from another team today. So if we want to kind of talk about it, 4 Lakers, you're probably getting Horton Tucker, you're probably getting Harrell in that, and then you're getting some combination of Schroeder, Kuzma, and Markieff Morris, maybe Caruso. I'm not really big on Caruso today, KCP. So yeah, I think that 4 Lakers is okay. So we can go to 4. So let's put 4 in here today, a max of 4. Let's generate these lineups and see what happens before we set some rules. So 4 Lakers is fine, but it depends on which Lakers you're getting to, right? It's always going to depend on which Lakers. So if we wanted to come in here and set some rules, I don't want to be getting 4 of, let's just do it this way, right? And this might seem obvious, but your lineups, if you're using an optimizer, are going to do this. So I don't want to be getting 4 of these guys, like Alex Caruso, right? KCP, Schroeder, guys who all play the same exact position, and then insert somebody else like Markieff Morris, right? So out of all these guys, I don't want these 4. If you're going to get 4 Lakers, the optimizer could definitely give you this, and it probably will in at least one lineup. KCP, Caruso, Dennis Schroeder, and Markieff Morris. I don't want that, right? So what we could do is we can do this. Out of KCP, Alex Caruso, and Markieff Morris, give me at most 2, right? So whenever those guys pop up, I don't want all 3 of them in a lineup. I think it's a little bit light then. I mean, you're looking at all those guys projecting out for 20 or less fantasy points today. So let's add that rule. into the optimizer. If you want to follow along with the optimizer, you can check it out down below. And now with that new rule added, we'll do the exact same build, and we'll see what that pops up for us. But good question. We'll kind of see what those lineups go now. So 4 Lakers is not too much. I don't think so. I don't think it's the ideal situation, but it's not too much. It's the exact point where I would get at most. As always, thank you for all the advice. I keep seeing DeAndre Ayton's name pop up. I don't trust it. What are your thoughts on him? Yeah, I mean, he's at as low of a price point as you're going to get. I don't envision DeAndre Ayton being $5,400. DeAndre Ayton, he's a defensive liability, so he's not closing games out. Phoenix is either blowing teams out or getting blown out, which is the definition of the 2020-2021 NBA season this year. So, I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with Ayton in terms of just minute security, blowouts, foul trouble, him just sucking on defense, closing games out with more and more teams not having traditional fives out there, and they're just pulling their center in DeAndre Ayton. But if Ayton plays 30 minutes, he's going to average a fantasy point per minute. He's now at 6,000. He's just fine. He's not standing out as anything fantastic. I have Ayton today for 8 minutes, was it? I gave Ayton 29 minutes, and he's in a player pool for me. So if I look at my exact player pools, the entire player pool is updated on Patreon as of the most recent news. My player pool for this 6-game slate is 33 players. Ayton is in that. He's not a yes for me. I have 11. Is it 11 or 10? I have 11 total yeses today. So 11 guys are kind of priorities for me, and then I've got a total player pool of 33 guys. All that is available to view in the link below in the description. Best value option on this slate right now, it's Talon Horton-Tucker to me, THT. He played 15 minutes in the second half last night when LeBron got hurt in the first quarter, so that's not even taking into account the actual minutes LeBron played in that first quarter. So he played 15 minutes in the second half. Horton-Tucker, they do have a lot of bodies that can play the 4, right? You're going to have not KCP, you're going to have Kuzma, you're going to have Markieff Morris. But Horton-Tucker, all those guys can actually move to the 3 as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they just play positionless basketball at times, and you got Kuzma out there with Markieff Morris and Horton-Tucker. Probably not for a lot of minutes, but that can happen, and somebody's just going to fall into playing shooting guard position. It's probably going to be Kuzma. So, yeah, I think that the minutes are pretty secure here for Horton-Tucker. He averages over 1.1 fantasy points per minute. LeBron off the court and AD off the court. Smaller sample with a lot of garbage time running there for sure. But Horton-Tucker, I gave 27 minutes today. He's gonna be the chalk when it comes from a value perspective, but I do think it's okay. Outside of that, like the top values on this slate are kind of all mixed in all around, right? Like Harden is my number 2 rated play on the slate. That's including his price, which is meaning that he's the second value. But Horton-Tucker, I think Lauri Markkanen is a buy low at $5,500. He is damn too cheap. Alex Len at $3,700 is not a priority for me today, but it's at least pointing out if you're looking for 3K options, the 3K options on this slate that actually look like okay options are Alex Len, Markieff Morris, and probably Alex Caruso. I'm not currently getting to Alex Caruso, but those are probably your options. And then Tony Bradley, of course, if he's going to continue to start, and you hope he plays minutes and does something with them. But good questions. Best value. All right, so thank you so much for everything, my brother. You are the truth, and always bring the energy. I can't wait till you have thousands tubing in every day. Yeah, my man. Well, we have, during the NFL season, our record was like almost 1,900 people live concurrent. So, yeah, PGA or NBA is just a little bit more, I would say more competitive, but it's also, daily. People don't always play every single day like they do and anticipate the Sundays in the NFL. So let's look back on the optimizer now that it's probably crunched out that lineup for us. So let's see. So this is what it's looking like from a top projected standpoint. It's giving you those 2 studs, which we talked about this morning. Garrison Matthews is not somebody I want to play, but you can see if you want to get up to these 2 studs and Russell Westbrook and Harden, you're going to have to play a lot of value. So Caruso pops up. Markieff Morris makes sense, pops up. Garrison Matthews is interesting. Not really somebody that I want to be getting to, but you're getting Sexton in there and Lauri Markkanen, guys that we do like. OG Anunoby, also interesting at a cheaper price point. You can see this is another lineup, but this lineup actually looks more appealing, and it's giving you, like somebody asked earlier about not getting to Westbrook, you can get to Beal instead. When you get to Beal, it gives you a little bit more floor security. You dip into the 3K range barely just for Markieff Morris here. So this is actually a pretty enticing lineup. I continue to believe in the upside of Josh Jackson at that cheap price point. He's going to fall into peripherals. He's shooting well. Tomas Satoransky, we like the upside there, and kind of similar things here can be said for these other players. Shake Milton still looks good either way if Ben Simmons is in or out. Is Thibault in play today for you? I don't believe so. I mean, yeah, no, I'm never really a Thibault person. I have him for 12.5 fantasy points today. He's not in play for me. I don't like any centers today. Who do you like at center today? Montrezl Harrell looks fantastic. Alex Len is a punt option. Harrell's my 4th overall play. If you want to count Lauri Markkanen, I think he's only power forward eligible actually right now, so we can't count him. Alex Len is a nice punt option. That's kind of about it. Like Chris Boucher, I'm not going to probably get to too much. Tony Bradley, if you want to punt. Jared Allen is probably going to be massively under-owned for what his potential is and his ceiling is. But with Larry Nance now back, kind of cuts into some of his rebounding rate. So, yeah. I mean, that's why you're going to see Montrezl Harrell highly owned today because there's just no real centers on this slate. You have Ayton, who's relatively cheap. You can say what you want about that. I mean, Ayton and Chris Boucher just look like similar plays, so I'd rather take the lower owned one and a Chris Boucher, who has, in my opinion, a higher ceiling today. Jared Allen, like we said. So, yeah, I would say that those are your options. Montrezl Harrell, probably Chris Boucher / Jared Allen, 2A, 2B, punting with Alex Len, and then just since he's picking up ownership, Ayton, I would go him next after that. What Laker do you like the most today? I want to see what the starting lineup looks like first. I'm going to be interested to see what that is going to be looking like. I assume that they'll go with they could really throw out there an ugly starting lineup, like a Dennis Schroeder, a Wesley Matthews, a KCP, Kuzma, and a Harrell. Like, they can throw out an ugly lineup where you're getting Markieff Morris and Horton Tucker off the bench. So I would say all around, my favorite Laker today, because Horton Tucker is going to look nice, but he needs those minutes. If he only plays 20, it's pretty scary. At $4,200, though, he's going to grade as my number one overall play. If we try and just take him out of it, like not count to the obvious value that's going to be chalky today, it would be Montrezl Harrell. But factoring in where the ownership currently lands, I'm starting to get more and more interest in Kuzma. I didn't like Kuzma because he doesn't project that well for me. Like, when we talk about prize picks, he's not really somebody. If anything, I would take the under on him. He doesn't project that well, but he's 6,600, which isn't insanely expensive for a 7-game slate. He scores 35, and he's a fantastic play for you today. And the other part of that is he's not picking up ownership. So if Kuzma is going to be like 10% owned today on a 6-game slate without LeBron or AD, that's appealing, especially if he draws a start, which I'm expecting. So if you're talking about like sneaky Lakers, the ones that have pretty big upside and good minutes are Dennis Schroeder and Kuzma, and they're not picking up ownership. Harrell and Horton Tucker, they're going to pick up ownership. They're just solid plays. You can play them. But one of those guys between Dennis Schroeder and Kyle Kuzma, they're going to be doing something today. There's just so many points to go around for this team. I mean, they're still projected for over 110 points, right? Right around 110 points. So those guys are way too low owned today, in my opinion. Thoughts on Caruso? Will he get there in lineups? I'm not really interested. I have him for 16 fantasy points and change. We can pull up the minutes that I currently have on him. I mean, if you're trying to get up to 2 studs, you kind of have to play the Caruso types, right? Russell Westbrook and James Harden, which I'm trying to do that, but I'm trying to hold out to see if like Ben Simmons is out, which opens up clearly more value. But I currently have Alex Caruso for 23 minutes and like 16 fantasy points and change. fellas, give our boy Sal a like and a sub. Let's get those dollar whiskeys on a Sunday. Let's do it, Skyler. What's up, man? Thanks, Al. You're the GOAT. No, you're the GOAT. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. 2 thumbs up from Artie. There we go, boss man. Firing him. Best $5,400 to $4,800 utility play in a large field GVP, says Corey Allen. I would say, you're just missing out on Lauri Markkanen there. I would say Shake Milton at $5,300. I like him a good amount today. And if Ben Simmons is out, it's even better. After Milton, low ownership will be on Joe Harris and OG Anunoby at $52 and $53 respectively. That's probably where I would go. Len gets played off the court, maybe. Yeah, he always does. How much will Griffin cut into Harris's minutes? I can show you. Well, Griffin's on a minutes limit, so I can show you the minutes I have for Brooklyn right now. I have Harris at 31 minutes, and I have Blake Griffin at 24. I think Blake Griffin cuts more into the DeAndre Jordan, Jeff Green minutes, if anything. So I have Joe Harris. Joe Harris is pretty locked into his role. He's a really good three-point shooter. He's really important to this team from that aspect, from a spacing aspect. Blake Griffin's not taking away from Joe Harris's minutes. Joe Harris doesn't traditionally play power forward. He's been having to fill in there. Joe Harris will go back to small forward today, with Harden at shooting guard, with Kyrie at the point guard position. Maybe they'll start Claxton for the first time in a while. I doubt it, though. But DeAndre Jordan at center. And honestly, Blake Griffin could come off the bench. If he doesn't come off the bench, he'll start at power forward. Doesn't cut into Joe Harris at all. And he cuts into Jeff Green. But one of Jeff Green and Blake Griffin will start at the 4 today, in my opinion. Austin says, yo, Sal, hope you've had a fantastic day. Very good day. Wish I could play Claxton with how productive he has been, but of course they now have Griffin into the mix. Yeah, Claxton, it's brutal for Claxton now, sadly. I'm giving Claxton 10 minutes today just because, if Blake Griffin on a minutes limit, even if he plays 20 minutes, you got to pull those minutes from somewhere. I'm pulling a couple from DeAndre Jordan. I only have him at 18 minutes today. I'm only giving Jeff Green 24 minutes, but minutes have to come from somewhere, right? I'm making TLC out of the rotation at this point. I'm making Tyler Johnson still someone in the rotation. So, yeah, unless DeAndre Jordan just jumps down to 10 minutes of play today and Claxton gets 18, it's really rough for Claxton, who has all the upside to, he's like a Chris Boucher type, right? He's a raw product that has a lot of upside and talent. See what he can do. But it's just sad that the way, this team's set up to win now, so they don't really care too much about development, it seems. So thoughts on Sadiq Bey today from Detroit? Yeah, all of Detroit just looks appealing. They're all just kind of in a player pool for me. Jeremy Grant, DeLon Wright's my favorite. Sadiq Bey, Josh Jackson. I would prefer Josh Jackson and DeLon Wright to Sadiq Bey, who are also both in the 5K range. But Sadiq Bey, I mean, nothing totally wrong with it. At 5,600, you need hot shooting, probably a couple steals and blocks. Any Knicks that you like out there today? Let's look at the exposure. So the Knicks, no. I have no's on all of them. Alec Burks will be a yes. He was in the dozen this morning, the Dollarooski dozen, if you will. But he's currently a no. We have to see what happens with Alfred Payton and Emmanuel Quickley. I'm currently projecting in Alfred Payton and Emmanuel Quickley. And if that's the case, then everybody else is a no, like the entire roster. Julius Randle, if you wanted to get there at 10K flat, fine. I just think they're like every other pay-up option is looking better right now. Randle's minutes, though, like 40 per game on average over the last 4 is pretty impressive. But it's too early to really make a final decision for the final picks video today on the Knicks because a lot can change. Alec Burks will become a yes if Quickley and Alfred Payton are out, but I'm projecting them both in right now, and that kind of ties down a lot of things. Let's pull back to some of these lineups. So this one's actually pretty appealing if you only go for one pay-up option here, but then you're also getting Beal, so you're kind of getting those 2 pay-up options on opposite sides of that massive total game, just insane total today. A 127 team implied total for Brooklyn, and on the opposite side, they're like 9-point underdogs with a 117, 118 implied total for Washington. There's going to be a lot of points in that game. So you can see this one. Going more balanced, Norman Powell. I mean, we're putting a lot of randomness on, so we're getting Norman Powell and Fred VanVleet. Let's lower the randomness because it's giving us a lot of range of outcomes. Let's lower the randomness to 25%. Let's keep uniques at 3, and let's build out 150 lineups. Go from there. Is this a Stars and Scrubs build today on DK? Yeah, I mean, I think they all look fine. If you want to go up for Russell Westbrook and Harden, that's fine. There's enough value to get it done. It might look ugly in a lot of those lineups, but there's enough to get it done. Or if you just want to play Harden and then go down to the 9K range, that's also fine. So there's not one clear path right now. If more value opens up, it'll be clear Stars and Scrubs with Westbrook and Harden, though. All right, let's look at this new build now. I believe it's probably going to give us similar lineups. So this one's pretty nice, actually. This one gets to get up to the 2 pay-up options, but it avoids getting too many like stinkers, if you will, in the 3K range. Like you get Caruso, you get Markieff Morris. Those are going to be a lot of 3K options today just because of their overall ceilings from a minute standpoint with no LeBron out there now. So this one's appealing because you get Harden and Westbrook. You're going to have the highly owned Horton Tucker. Shake Milton should not be super highly owned. And then you're going to get some ownership discounts when it comes to Joe Harris. So that's kind of like your GPP pivot option. Shooting guard, small forward. You hope that he gets hot, right? Thank you, man. Always appreciate it. No problem, Nate. Checking in daily. Sal NBA streaming. Nice walk. How we doing? What's going on, Max? How you doing? Yeah, nice walk. There you go. Good weather. Spring started yesterday. Hopefully good weather wherever you're at. Goodfellas says dominate. Let's do it. Let's do it. Center play today? Yeah, I mean, it's not just Harrell. It's Alex Len if you're really trying to punt. But Harrell, you can punt with like a Philadelphia guy. Howard kind of laid a stinker last night, which means he's going to be low owned today. What is his real ceiling these days? I don't know. He's kind of limited from a body standpoint how many minutes he can play, but we got to see a couple games of 30 in there, so that was nice to see. Do you attempt to avoid blowouts, says Joey Payne? If not, how do you exploit when you see a possible blowout? I don't project for blowouts. No, I think if you try to project for blowouts, like you can tell yourself in your head that there's going to be a blowout and maybe you just stay away from that game. But I don't actually, when it comes from a projection standpoint, I don't do anything for that. If a team's getting blown out 90% of their games, sure, we can start to account for it, but it's random, right? It's random. Teams that are 10-point favorites lose more often than you would actually think. And the other thing with blowouts is you don't know how that's going to affect the game. Even if the game blows out, guys can get there. Giannis, right? Scores 60-plus points in blowouts frequently when he plays 28 to 30 minutes. So they're usually doing the blowing out. And if you're going to be projecting for blowouts, the opposite side of the coin is if you're somebody who projects for it often, you're going to be wrong a very large amount of the time. And that's just going to hinder you even more. Once you start projecting for blowouts, start projecting for not projectable things. Fellas, how are everybody doing? Best stud to play today on pure fantasy point scoring. It will be Harden for me. Best stud. I have him for over 60 fantasy points today. Maxi Kleber today. Maxi Kleber's okay. Had a nice game yesterday, but if you go back and look at it, he shot 4 of 7 from 3. That's not going to be holding up. So if you, I always like Maxi Kleber, but if you're just going off of yesterday's performance and getting excited, he shot 4 of 7 from 3. That's not going to hold up. He's no longer 42 and 4,400. He's now $5,000 flat. So the minutes will be there, but Dorian Finney-Smith is expected back. So yeah, I mean, you have Willie Cauley-Stein out, helps those bigs in general get more run, but Kleber's not in my player pool right now. If he was 4,200, he'd be more interesting, but he's 5K now because he was shooting hot from 3. I don't like that. Thuggin says, looking good, Sal. Thanks, man. Alex Bush just went 4 out of 5 on Prize Picks, says Alex. Nice job. Way to go. Yeah, we can talk about Prize Picks. I actually wrote down a bunch of, so I can come in prepared since there's so many props out there. So if you guys want to check out Prize Picks, I encourage you. A lot of people already did. A lot of people watching this probably have already signed up, but if you haven't, check it in. Join the community. It's a over-under on player props, but also fantasy points is where I kind of like to live. And there's a couple of really nice ones out there right now. The main one that I want to touch on If you want to use the code, there's a link in the description. You can use the code SAL, just simple SAL. It's on the screen right now. You will get a money match. So whatever you deposit, they'll just match you up to $100. So you put in 50, they'll give you 50. You put in 20, the same thing all the way up to $100. The one that's really interesting, and we touched on Harden this morning. He was at 56. We said he's going to go up. He's now at 60. So now it's a no bet for me. If you got him at 56 on the over, fantastic. But the one that's really appealing, that is, in my opinion, going to change, especially after this video, CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum, 29 fantasy points today. I've got CJ McCollum for, I know I have him in the 30s, but is it the high 30s? Let's see. I have CJ McCollum today for 36.08 fantasy points. So I have McCollum as a 7-point difference here. This is the number one play right now in Prize Picks. CJ McCollum over 29 points. It's like clear as day as that. There's some other decent options. None of them that I feel like as strong about. Like Dennis Schroeder at 38, I've got him for like 35, 36. So like I would take the under if anything there. Sexton, we continue to ride. He's been 2 out of 3 times doing well for us. He's right now at, I believe, 34. So Sexton has an over-under on 34. I have him right now, I believe, at 36 and change, like 36.8, somewhere around there. I like that. I would say my second favorite one, McCollum's like on his own tier today right now, but you obviously have to pair some together. I would say that the second one I like the most, these games already started over here, but the second one that I like the most, where the props currently lie at, is the Bulls. So number 2 would be Laurie. I've got Laurie for like 31 fantasy points today. He's at over under 27. I'll take the over on that. He's priced low all the way across the industry. And Levine, I've got it close to 45 today. He's at 42, so I'll take the over there as well. So those are some that look interesting. Obviously, a lot of my projections are like a point and a half over. I'm trying to find spots where I'm like 3, 4, 5 points over, 7 points in the McCollum instance. That's really good. So we'll probably talk about it some more, answer some questions throughout. But be sure to check it out down below. It's a ton of fun. It's simplifying the game of DFS, and you can kind of just pick and choose as you go. You don't have to worry about building a whole lineup. Kind of just take those over on some of those guys that stand out, like McCollum today stands out. Honestly, some of the most difference that we've seen, 7 points between McCollum, my projection on him, and that line so far. So you use that code SAL. Superdraft interest today. Yes, on the 6-game slate, they didn't have anything on Superdraft this morning. Outside of like the obvious pay-up options, who all look really good today, like your Hardens, your Westbrooks, your Lucas, your Kyries, like those guys all project out fantastic today. Colin Sexton at a 1.55x multiplier looks really good. Zach LaVine at a 1.25x multiplier looks good. And then you get a bunch of guys looking pretty similar, like Jeremy Grant, Dennis Schroeder, Chris Paul, Kristaps Porzingis. These guys are all right around like top 10 plays for me today, and they all have that nice multiplier range of 1.35 to 1.4, so you get a nice bonus there. Thanks, man, for the help. Would you consider a one-day pass or weekend warrior package for your optimizer? That way users can play when they have time to use it. Says Corey Allen. Yeah, potentially. It would have to be when we're on the WordPress site. We're still trying to work through that. It can't happen on Patreon. There's no packages. Patreon only allows monthly and yearly packages, which is one of the downfalls of why I'm trying to get off of it. So it would have to happen when we move over to the WordPress site, which is going to be a slow and detailed process to make sure that everything is set up right. But like week-long passes are appealing to me. Weekend passes, probably not, to be honest with you. I probably wouldn't do weekend passes. Tobias Harris, a lock, 8.6K if Ben Simmons is out again. Not a lock, no. Really good play yet again. I mean, it was a really good play yesterday. He was one of our yeses yesterday. He'll become a yes today if that happens, but not a lock. I'll pull up Philly's minutes. I'm currently projecting in. He's questionable right now, the last that I checked, which was right before the stream. I'm currently projecting in Ben Simmons for 35 minutes. No interest in him at that price point of 9K. Interest in Harris still at 8,600, even if Simmons plays, but not as much. But he wouldn't be a lock, no. Will all these value guys from the Lakers play in a blowout is the real question. I mean, yeah. I mean, they've got some more guys on that bench, right? Like Giannis's brother. They've got a lot of guys on that bench that they can just throw minutes at. But, I mean, most of the guys will play in a blowout. THT will play in a blowout, right? Caruso will play in a blowout. Just got back from the hospital. Grandpa was admitted Thursday at age 93 with congestive heart failure. His spirits are high, though. Yeah, hopefully he's doing well, my man. Thoughts and prayers. Harrell looks solid today. What do you think? Yeah, he looks solid. He'll be one of the highest owned guys. He looks really solid. He's the best center option. Not a lot of center options today. Shane says, night slate. 5 Lakers too much? Where's the night slate? Is it a 2-game slate? What does the optimizer say? Is the night slate a 2-game slate, I assume, or is it a 3-game slate tonight? If it's a 2-game slate, 5 Lakers seems okay. You need a lot to go right there in terms of the guys you're paying up for. I would probably still stick to 4, personally, but 5's fine. What's up? I finally took your advice and played Super Draft last night and came in number 1. Took down my first $500 tournament. Way to go, James. There you go. Yeah, if anybody wants to try out Super Draft, they'll match you $25 if you put in $25. You just use the name Sal. It's a lot of fun. The contest still won't fill. They've got a $5,000 contest, a bunch now, like $2,500 a second, and as of the last time I played, which I think was 2 days ago, the contests just still don't fill. They still fill at like 80%. So you're getting a nice head start. You beat 20% of the field just by even putting in a lineup, which is crazy. And my man James binked $500 last night. Way to go. Bay, Joe Harris, or Danny Green? Right now I'll go with... that's tough. Right now I'll go with Sadiq Bey. Best center plays Montrezl Harrell. What do you think of the pivot from Westbrook or Harden to a lower-owned Luka? Yeah, I think it's fine. We obviously know what Luka's ceiling is. So, yeah. I mean, I don't think Westbrook's really going to be that highly owned, though. That's the thing. Like, I think Luka and Westbrook will probably be similar ownership, which is why I like Westbrook more. Like, if Westbrook was coming in as, like, the second highest owned guy, Harden will be owned. It's going to be between Harden, Harrell, and probably Horton Tucker as your highest owned guy today. Like, those are going to be the highest. One of those will be the highest owned guys. But I think Westbrook is going to be coming in with similar ownership to Luka, and I like Westbrook a decent amount more. So you can pivot off of Harden to Luka if you wanted to, but pivoting from Luka to Westbrook because of ownership, to me, probably doesn't make sense because my opinion is that they'll be both 16 to 18% owned today. I didn't watch any DFS videos for the first time yesterday and had my best night ever, but here I am, says Rob S. There you go. Coincidence or something more? Favorite spend on DK today? My favorite spend on DK today is, it's probably going to be between Harden and Westbrook. If you had to pick one, factoring in the ownership, is probably Westbrook. So my favorite overall option right now with the news that we have, factoring in ownership, is probably going to be Westbrook. Like, I like Harden a lot right now. Harden ranked out higher than Westbrook this morning's video. But now taking into account ownership, if Harden is going to be twice as owned as Westbrook, I'll take the chances that Westbrook can go for a 60-70 burger. Harden gets to his ceiling more often, though. But that's why you're going to be having the ownership. Took down a 4K person contest on DK yesterday. Thanks for that great advice yesterday, Sal. No problem, man. I assume you do that in the NBA. Yeah. The smaller person contest is better. 4K is a lot smaller than 40K. So there you go. I like to play in the 1,000 person or less contest. It's mainly where most of my action is. 500 or person contests or less, because if you're just putting $10 in every single night, $20 in every single night, and depositing that and putting it into the big contest with 100K to first, because you're trying to think, what will I do with the $100,000? Just think about how many times you've been doing that and how many times you've won the 100K. I would say most people in this have never won it. And I would say most people in this have been doing it for days, months, years, right? It's not a good contest. You're literally just playing the lottery every night, which if you just want entertainment, that's fine. But if you actually want to, not just throw all the money away, start to use better contest selection. Outside of actually having a bankroll to use, like finding money, having money aside, having money you've won, the next important thing when you actually have that money to play with is contest selection. And there's nothing more important than not playing the 40,000 person contest unless you think you can build the best 150 lineups out there. Otherwise, you're a sitting duck and you're literally playing in the worst contest. You might as well go play the lottery. Because your one lineup compared to pros 150 lineups is, you got better chances playing the lottery where everybody has the exact same chance. No worries, your attention and response to the community is second to none. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thoughts on Rui Hachimura? Minutes look good and trying to get as much exposure to that Nets-Wizards game with the Lakers value opening up. Yeah, what's going on, Ryan? So, you've been in here already. I probably already said what's going on. I have him at 34 minutes. I think Rui Hachimura looks pretty good today. He's in a player pool for me. He will be one of those lower owned guys. The concern is just the price. Like, right? He's 5,800. The high total is nice. The matchup is nice. Probably get some matchups against like Jeff Green and the corpse at this point of Blake Griffin. Maybe he'll revive in Brooklyn. But yeah, I mean, 5,800 is expensive. Like, do we think Rui scores 35 to 40 points today? No, not with these other guys on his team. I don't. So like my projection on Rui, he's in a player pool for me. So I will be getting to Rui. But the problem is just the price point. Like, the minutes will be there for him. He might even get 36, 37 again. I have Rui for 28.77 fantasy points. Rui currently ranks out as my number 29 play in the day. So he's in a player pool, not like the strongest of plays. Let's see, before I put any advanced rules on, let's see what kind of some of the exposure is looking like right now. So this is what the exposure is currently looking like if we don't put any advanced rules on outside of just randomness. Not bad. It makes sense, right? You're going to get a lot of Horton Tucker. You're going to get a lot of Harden. Westbrook at 25% will be 10% more than the field, I would assume. I want more Westbrook, though. So I will probably artificially raise Westbrook's projection by a point to get even more of him. Lauri Markkanen we like, right? He was in the video this morning. Harrell we like. Larry Nance I continue to like. Larry Nance continues to be undervalued. A power forward playing 33, 34, 35 minutes a game, averaging a fantasy point plus per minute per game. Looks great. He has one bad game and now everybody doesn't want to play him. The price point comes up a little bit. Nobody wants to play him. Yeah, I'll continue to go to Larry Nance. Exact same thing could be said for Delon Wright. Price point coming up. He has one subpar game and, he's still going to average over a fantasy point per minute and play in the mid-30s in minutes. Alex Len comes in here as a punt play at 27%. He's like the only other center option. I'm not really high on DeAndre Ayton today. So a lot of this makes sense to me, right? Like Alex Caruso is 23% I'm getting to. So I'm going to have to make Alex Caruso right now. I'm going to have to put him in my player pool just based on once we start to use randomness. So I'll put him in the player pool right now on DraftKings, and I'll probably have to end up making. So I'll end up making Larry Nance. He's already a yes. All right, there we go. So yeah, so this is what we're kind of seeing right now before we get any Ben Simmons news or any other news. These Toronto guys always cut into each other, so not getting much of them. Mid-teens at most. I'm a little bit below the field on Bradley Beal right now, which makes sense. Luka, I'll probably be around the field at 15% on. And yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'm getting like 10% Garrison Matthews. I know he's playing in the 20s a minutes now, but that's still pretty interesting. Not much Kyrie at just 9%. This is as of right now. I'm clearly going to be adding rules, so these are not going to be my final exposures, but just kind of a thought as we are sitting 2.5 hours before lock. I just play higher stakes small man tournaments where you have a chance at winning, says Mike Love Thyself. Yeah, you don't even have to play higher stakes. So the best contests you can find are lower stakes, low field tournaments, because professionals can't play at the below $3 stakes and some guys can't play at the below $5 stakes. But the reason why higher stakes, I agree. Like if you're going to play anything, if you're going to play a $300 contest with 500 people in it, or if you're going to play a $10 contest with 40,000 people in it, I'd rather play a $300 contest, right? But obviously everybody's bankroll is not like that. But keep in mind the competition in that 500 person field with $300 in play, every single one of those people are very, very much so. They're not going to miss out on news. They're very much so understanding what's happening. Most of them know how to leverage ownership. Most of them are not afraid of getting away from chalk. So you're playing against the best of the best. So you have to keep that in mind. Those contests, in my opinion, are also not the most profitable. If you can bink one of those, well, you probably should take that bink and get out of there, right? Run free, because those are the best of the best you're playing against. So you're in the big leagues now. And if you're not a big leaguer, you're not going to win. So yeah, the best contests that you can find are single entry 3 max, in my opinion. If you like to play cash, whatever, but single entry and 3 max below the, the lower the buy-in, the better. Like I still playing the $1, $2, $3, $5, $10, $20 until DraftKings tells me I can't anymore. I'm going to keep playing them. And I go up to the $100 and $200 single entry type contests. And depending on the night, I'll play the 555 or 777 if they don't fill by 20 or 30 people. Yeah. But you have to also keep that in mind. It's just not It's easier of winning in terms of percentages. 1 divided by 500 people, that's a better percentage chance compared to 1 divided by 40,000 people, right? Your one lineup. That's a lot better of a chance in that 500-person field statistically, but the skill level is insanely higher in those. It's all the sharps, right? Howard, a good play. I think he's actually a pretty nice bounce back option, yeah. So Philadelphia, like Dwight Howard, the more I think about it, I don't currently, I have him in a player pool. I don't currently have him as a yes, but yeah, had a bad game last night. People might jump off of that. Should still see in the 20s in minutes, maybe even upper 20s. Do you think you will ever mess around with FanDuel? Probably not, no. I guess I'll never say totally never, but as of right now, there's plans to do a good amount of things, and cover FanDuel is not one of them. Hey, Sal, what about Garland today? He's kind of like a break even. He doesn't stand out. He's just another guy. He's not a terrible play. He's not great. He's just kind of like there. I'd rather have Sexton. You think I'll be able to win without picking Harden, Westbrook, and just go to Randall and another pay-up player? Do I think you have a chance to win doing that? Yeah. Is it likely? I think it's more likely if you have Harden and or Westbrook, but that's why their ownerships will be a little bit higher than Randall today. Although I do think Randall's ownership probably does rival what you're going to be seeing from Westbrook today. So like Randall might be like 8% owned, Westbrook, maybe Westbrook's like 16. So I think that, yeah, Randall will probably be the lowest owned quote unquote stud. And I think that's appropriate, like based on, if you think Randall keeps playing 41 minutes and 40 minutes, well, then they get to him, because if he does that, he's going to keep averaging 55 to 60 fantasy points. What about Joe Harris from Brooklyn? Yeah, nice lower owned option. No love for Jared Allen. No, we like Jared Allen. On a slate where there's not that many centers right now, Jared Allen's in a player pool for me. It's Montrezl Harrell pretty clearly, and then it's 2A Jared Allen, and then like 2B Alex Len, 2C Dwight Howard. It's just Harrell right here, and then everybody else today. Like there's not that many great centers, but Jared Allen is one of my 33 players in a player pool. Josh Jackson or Joe Harris? Give me Josh Jackson. Because, I just like the upside of Josh Jackson. I'll pull up Phoenix's minutes. I was hoping Josh Jackson would be on Prize Picks today, but he's not, sadly. But give me Josh Jackson. Josh Jackson continues to play minutes, continues to play off the bench with Frank Jackson now starting. Frank Jackson had shot 5 of 5 from 3 in that last game, so it led him to play more minutes, play 31 minutes, which limited to what Josh Jackson can do to an extent. So the minutes are not as secure as we would like on Josh Jackson, but yeah, I'll take Josh Jackson. Let me pull up Detroit. I keep saying he's on Phoenix because that's where he was. Yeah, he's in a player pool for me. Not a priority, but I have him for a fantasy point per minute today. He's been averaging exactly a fantasy point per minute. Gets a good matchup against Chicago. I have him at 26 minutes. If you think Jackson can see 28 or 30, even better. But even at 26 minutes, fantasy point per minute production, 5,200, good play with upside. Lamar Stevens value? No. Lamar Stevens shooting well yesterday and getting a little bit more increased run is not something that is sticky. Shout out Penn State, though. Sal, how come you're so low on CJ McCollum? Kind of like him a bit on DK at low ownership. I love CJ McCollum on Prize Picks. He's the number one play today for me on Prize Picks. McCollum right now is okay. He's in my player pool, so I'm not low on him. He's in a player pool right now for me. He's not going to play 35 minutes unless they say the minutes limit's off. So if McCollum's going to play 30 minutes today, where is my projection on him, and he's not cheap at 7,300, I can't just automatically love CJ McCollum. He can't be a yes for me. He can be in a player pool, but if you think he plays 33, 34, 35 like he was before the injury, then sure. Then you can get to CJ McCollum and feel really good about him. He's probably underpriced by $500 to $700 at that point. But at 7,300, if he only plays 30 minutes, he's a quality play. He's not locked in for scoring 40 points or anywhere near that. And he's 7,300, so for him to be winning you a GPP, you need 40-plus points out of CJ McCollum. And I don't have that as a projection. I have him in the 36 range, which just makes him a decent play. When you're building your 3 entries, do you keep common core among all 3? There's no set plan. It changes some days maybe, depending on how much I like the guys. Some days it's totally different. So there's no set plan around that. Totally dependent on the day. You like Bradley if Simmons plays? I don't really like Tony Bradley either way, to be honest with you. He's an okay punt, but I don't plan to get to him much. How come nobody's talking about Dame? People forget he's a stud. He's still overpriced for CJ McCollum being back. Damian Lillard is priced at $10,500. That's the exact same price he was at. If not, he was cheaper when CJ McCollum wasn't here. So, yeah, he's still a stud. He still has these great scoring games. He still, in the fourth quarter, will take over and be an absolute monster. The problem is he has CJ McCollum back now. So, projection-wise, they're pricing him as if CJ McCollum's not out there when McCollum has been averaging over 1.2 fantasy points per minute this year, and now McCollum's playing more and more minutes. So like you saw last game, McCollum plays decent and just plays like himself, and Dame, even in an okay game, can't get there because Dame now scoring 45 points or even 50 points is not enough for you. Dame at that price point has to score 55, 60 points for you to win a GPP with him, especially with all the other guys in the slate, and it's just really hard for him to do that when McCollum is out there and healthy. Kleber or Morris today? Which Morris? Markieff? Give me Markieff. Not really big on Kleber. He had a hot shooting game from 3 yesterday. He shot over 50% from 3, 4 of 7, and his price point is now $5K. I don't really like it. You don't need to talk about Dame. He's always the right play. Maybe. Any interest in Barrett? He has 40 minutes in the last 2 games. I don't think so. Barrett just doesn't have a ceiling, so I don't have any interest in Barrett. He just has no ceiling on him. Best super draft plays today, all the guys who are the low multipliers grade out well. I never really like those guys. So Harden, Russ, Kyrie, they all look really good. Kyrie has a 1.25x multiplier, so I probably like him the most. But Sexton looks good. And just looking at guys who are high projections with high multipliers, right? So their ceiling's even higher. Sexton looks good from that standpoint. Zach LaVine, Chris Paul, Jeremy Grant, Dennis Schroeder. Those types of guys. Tobias Harris will really jump up if Ben Simmons is out. When are you updating the super draft interest? They were updated about an hour ago, so they're already up. Harrell's going to bust without LeBron. We shall see. Maybe. Hey, man, just off question. Do you like NBA or NFL DFS better? To play, probably NFL just from an anticipation standpoint. To watch, NBA. If I'm not watching a team that I enjoy watching, which I don't have an NBA team, I like the Packers and NFL, so I would rather watch them. But if I'm just talking about watching a game with maybe some just for entertainment value, it would be the NBA. It's way more entertaining. I don't have to wait a minute between plays to watch a guy run for 3 yards to then wait another minute between plays, right? The NFL is a very boring sport. You like it because you get to wager on it. You get to play DFS. But imagine not doing any of those things and I'm watching the games. You'd be like, why am I doing this? The NBA is actually fast movement. Guys have personalities. They're on podcasts. You can relate to them more. So to play DFS, NFL, just because it's a whole week long of anticipation, right? It's that sacred day of Sunday. But to just watch the sport itself, NBA. Salvatore, any love for Otto Porter tonight? No, not for me. Would you get Marcus on a single game? No. Also not for me. I got Harden Caruso. Are you a no on Burks now? I'm a no on Burks until we get news on Emmanuel Quickly and Alfred Payton. If those guys are out, he'll be a yes. He's a no if those guys are in. I'm currently projecting those guys in. Luka or Westbrook? Give me Westbrook. Thoughts on Zach LaVine tonight? Will be lower owned. I lean the over on Prize Picks. I think he's a fine lower owned option, but I prefer Bradley Beal on DraftKings. And Bradley Beal's not picking up ownership. So I'd rather go to Bradley Beal in guys when Zach LaVine is at this price point, it's fine. He's not overpriced or anything like that. I think he's appropriately priced. But the problem is in that price range right now, you also have Bradley Beal picking up moderate ownership at most. And you have guys like Kyrie Irving really not picking up ownership at all. And I'd just rather go to those guys, especially in that game environment. But we talked about it earlier. Like, I would lean the over on Zach LaVine. But the best play, no doubt about it, I already have this locked in, is the over 29 on CJ McCollum. I mean, I have him for 36 points, and that might be low. If he plays more minutes tonight, McCollum's going to score like 38, 39 points. So I have him at 36, even with a 30 minutes limit on him. So go ahead, try out Prize Picks. It's linked down below. This looks very, very good, this prop. We talked about some other ones earlier, like the over on Lauri Markkanen in 27. If you're just trying to do 2 props today, those would be the 2 right now as it stands. Their numbers still look pretty good. Other options out there, though, for sure. Let's look at some more of the optimizers lineups. Let's look at some of the, like, not the exact highest owned ones or highest projected ones, but let's go like to this next tier in here. So it seems like, yeah, we're definitely getting a lot of, let's see one that stands out and looks pretty decent. So this one's pretty decent. It's only going with 1 stud and then it's balanced, so not so much stars and scrubs. Well, I know Marc Gasol, well. I mean, Marc Gasol stinks. He's old. He can't even play 20-plus minutes on his own right. I don't know why we would like to play Marc Gasol today. What has changed in the last 3 to 4 months, outside of it being a smaller size slate, 6 games, right? Marc Gasol, I have projected for 11.3 points today at $4,000. Like, Marc Gasol's 16 minutes of play today, averaging 0.85 fantasy points per minute. I mean, the guy's brutal. We can't think about Marc Gasol from 4 years ago on the Grizzlies, 3 years ago on the Grizzlies, right? We got to think about the Marc Gasol today, who's an old man out there and, a liability. I disagree. Nothing better than watching good football game, just my opinion. Yeah, watching football is fun when there's something on it, but for me, it's just not. Like, if I don't have DFS, a betting outright on it, or it's like not my quote-unquote favorite team, and it's like week 7 of the regular season, yeah, couldn't do it. Just time-wise, right? Like, what am I doing watching it? I guess some people get entertainment value out of it, but if I don't got no stakes on it, could be smelling the roses and doing a lot of other things. Would you get Morris in a single game? Markieff Morris right now. I haven't built my single entry lineup, but I would lean that he probably won't make it. Thoughts on Beal / Westbrook together? I think that's fine. Who replaced Milton for high shooting guard interest? Milton's still a high shooting guard interest for me right now. So Milton's still that option for me. Colin Sexton fills in for the shooting guard's role. DeLon Wright, those are probably like the priority shooting guard options for me today on this Sixer game slate. Any bait tonight, Sal? Not as of right now. I'll get like sprinkling amounts, but not a lot. Is it fine to have Westbrook and Beal? Yes. You think Kuzma would be a good pick considering Bron and AD are out? Yeah, I actually thought he was going to be higher owned, but he's not. He's not projecting out good because, he's not a quality player anyways. So, like, from a production standpoint on DraftKings, but he's not picking up ownership. So, yeah, I think he's a nice low-owned option. Can you rank low-price power forwards out of Claxton, Patrick Williams? I assume that's Patrick Williams, Stewart, and Morris. So, is that Markieff Morris? The answer is Markieff Morris, Stewart, Patrick Williams, and Claxton in that order. Sports are kind of boring with no money on them. I assume with no money on them you meant, unless you're just saying in general. With no money on them, I probably wouldn't watch any single sport, to be honest with you. I would watch UFC. That's about it. That's like the only one I think I would watch if I didn't have any action on any of these sports. Like on a consistent basis, I think it would be just UFC. Because, that just like kind of promotes itself from an intrigue standpoint. Guys just punching each other in the face. Interest in Danny Green? The price point's up on Danny Green, so no. No. If Ben Simmons is out, he'll be a little bit more appealing, but the price point's up. So right now I lean no. So this one's interesting because we like Chris Paul, right? You have your obvious value options. You're getting into this one, 3 Lakers, but Dennis Schroeder will be low owned. Larry Nance will not be high owned, and Chris Paul will not be high owned. So this is an interesting lineup. OG Anunoby. It's clearly going for 1 pay up, and I really want to play 2 pay ups today. So finding that value to get to 2 pay ups without having to dip too much in the 3K range, like one of the lineups was doing earlier, is appealing. I'll throw the Patreon in the chat if you guys want to check out this optimizer. We've been building, me and one of the patrons have been building this optimizer out. It seems to be pretty cool. Very nice, very functioning. So this would be that lineup that you're not paying up, like your second stub you're paying up for is Bradley Beal, and it really does allow you to not have to just drop down for complete crap. I guess this is not that exact one because this one has Robin Lopez in it, so let's find that exact one. Is it this one? This one has Jay Crowder in it, which isn't terrible. This might have been the one, although I think the one that I was looking at didn't have Jay Crowder in it, but this has like all the other guys. So you have to pump with Alex Len, and Markieff Morris would be another option if you wanted to go to him instead of Jay Crowder. So trying to find that right mix of a lineup that doesn't have, like this one has Tyreke Maxey. You're really trying to punt there. A balance of decent options. Like this one's not bad. Alex Caruso would be your punt. After that, you have some pretty firm options. You're going to Zach LaVine, who's lower owned at $8,500, lower priced. Salvatore, so Gasol is a must play. Not for me. MMA is the most fun to watch when you have action on it too. I bet. Every second is like something dramatic is going to change instead of knowing you have like an unlimited amount of time in every other sport. or innings. Would you play the power forward from Washington today, Rui Hachimura? Yeah, I think he's playable for sure. Those minutes are really nice. The price point is concerning because like Rui Hachimura to win you a GPP probably needs 36 plus fantasy points today. And I don't know how much that's going to happen, but that game environment would be the one to bring it out of him. Harrell or Ayton for a tier pick? Give me Harrell. Thoughts on Thad Young today? Thanks. He's just consistent. He's 6,400. He'll score you 30 fantasy points to 34 today, and it's not going to do anything for you. It's not going to win you a GPP. It probably won't lose you a GPP, but 25 minutes at Thad Young will result in, and I'll pull up Chicago right now, and then we can talk about, like, I think he has a 30 over-under on Prize Picks. That doesn't even stand out because, I mean, he's just going to score you 30 to 34 points. Thad Young to hit a ceiling with all these other guys healthy now on this team is tough for him to hit it because he has to play 30-plus minutes, and he's just not going to do that now with Wendell Carter healthy, with Laurie healthy. So I have Thad Young at 30.5 points. It's just really hard for that to work out. Sal, how you doing? Good now. It's time to get schmacked. There we go. I'm doing well, Redmond. How you doing? Yeah, we did a nice little trip this morning. Got some pasta meatball stuff. We're going to be eating that momentarily. Did a little 10-mile run. I'm tired as shit. Doing well. Would you play Mo Wagner instead of Morris? No. How so you attack Washington versus Brooklyn game in a GPP? How should you do it? Yeah, I mean, James Harden will be highly owned. The rest of those guys probably won't be. Bradley Beal will pick up moderate ownership, 18, 20%. I think that Russell Westbrook won't pick up as much ownership because it's hard to kind of get to him today if you want to prefer Harden. I think that Kyrie Irving will be just low owned as hell, 10%, and I think that's fair. Interesting other options in secondary pieces would be Rui Hachimura and Joe Harris. Those would be like the guys if you wanted to kind of get interesting mid-range 5K options that have a lot of upside because of that game environment. But I'm attacking that game trying to get two of Harden, Beal, and Westbrook in my lineups. So it's probably going to come down to me getting to Harden and Beal or Harden and Westbrook. And I really want to get to Harden and Westbrook, so finding a lineup that works with that without having to dip too much into the value will be my option. What about Tomas Satoransky today? I like Tomas Satoransky. I have him at 27 minutes right now. He's in a player pool. Not a priority because the price point's now up to 4,500. He's not 3,800 anymore. So when Tomas Satoransky goes out there in 26 to 28 minutes, we have him at 27 today. When he goes out there and he scores 22, 23 fantasy points, I mean, it's just fine, right? If you think Tomas Satoransky can get you 28 to 30, well, then he's going to be winning you GPPs. Sal, best shot at a 10X guy for tonight. I think it's Talon Horton Tucker at 4,200. So if Morris doesn't make your single entry lineup, would that likely mean you're going one stud route? I'm going to try to go to Westbrook and Harden. I mean, that's the goal, is to try and get those guys together. I'm still playing around with it. We'll see. Markieff Morris can make it, but I haven't built anything. I mean, we still have over 2 hours. Sal, what do you project Gasol for? He looks like a sleeper. I have him for 11.3 fantasy points, so it looks like dust to me. KCP or Morris today? Give me Morris. Value at forward at the Lakers. Yeah, all the values at forward for the Lakers. Talon Horton Tucker and Markieff Morris. Harrell, if you want to consider him a forward, although he'll play center today. Would you Blake Griffin today? No, he's on a minutes limit. He stinks, and he's on a team with Kyrie Irving. And, I mean, it's never going to get better for Blake Griffin than right now, and he's literally on a minutes limit because KD's going to come back, and then it's just like Blake Griffin's playing like an honorary 12 minutes a night. But, yeah, with Kyrie Irving, and the game environment's nice, but the minutes limit, I think it'll probably be 20 to 24 on him. So that's a concern. Right now, I have Blake Griffin projected for 24 minutes, and that's probably a high point for him tonight. He's $5,000. I think the best Blake Griffin can probably do tonight is average a fantasy point per minute. With these guys next to him, I don't think that happens. So I've got currently Blake Griffin looking a lot worse than he did on his previous team, and that's saying something. So the price point is low, yes, but he's on a much, much harder team to kind of find production out of. So Blake Griffin for me right now projects out for 22 fantasy points. Monkey Mets donates $5 to the stream. He says, I like what you're doing, bro. What's a good 9K? What's a good 9 pick to work around? And your best 3.5K sleeper. So a good 9K option to work around would be Bradley Beal, in my opinion. I think he's the best 9K option. My best 3.5K, like 3.5K, I'm going to assume, or below sleepers, which you're stating there. So, I mean, all those guys will be quote-unquote sleepers. Like Caruso will pick up some ownership, so that's not going to be your sleeper, so you can throw him right out. Other than that, there's really nothing. I'll pull up the projections, though. I appreciate the super chat, by the way. How many Lakers is too many? I'll probably get no more than 3 in my main lineup, but you can go up to 4 in like 150s. So $3,500 or below, Caruso will be your best play. He'll also be the highest owned play. If you're looking for a sleeper down there, it's probably Garrison Matthews at $3,400 from Washington. I don't think he's great, but you said sleeper and you're looking for a punt. So Garrison Matthews, I have projected out today in that really nice game environment for 24 minutes. And he's a guy who can average, he can get hot shooting. He can pick up assists. So that would be your option. Another option at $3,500 flat would be Robin Lopez. I have for 16.9 fantasy points. Looks like Dust is right. Yeah, correct. So yeah, Bradley Beal will be my answer for the 9K Monkey Mensch. I appreciate that super chat. Oh, he says FanDuel wise, Monkey Match. I can't help you out there, my man. I haven't played FanDuel in about 2 or 3 years. I play DraftKings, SuperDraft. Now we're into Prize Picks a good amount. Jock Market. FanDuel is just not one that I enjoy. So I wish I could help you there. If you give me some options, we can help you. But that's the translation from a DraftKings perspective. Do you like Stewart from Pistons tonight? Power forward on FanDuel. Yeah, I can't help you there. I don't even know what the prices are over there. You read it wrong at forward. That ain't a value. You read it wrong. Value at forward. That ain't a Laker. Oh, I don't think I read it wrong. I think you spelled it wrong. But value at forward. That's not a Laker tonight. Lauri Markkanen, power forward, would be. He's better than most of those Lakers forwards. So Lauri Markkanen is the answer for me, and Larry Nance. Those are the two best. Lauri Markkanen, Larry Nance, and Pascal Siakam in that order would be my favorite non-Laker forwards. Do you like Dallas Kleber? No. As a sleeper tonight? No, not a 5K. No. Hey, Sal, what's your thoughts on Chris Boucher for DraftKings? He's pretty cheap. Yeah, he'll be a low-owned option. I prefer him to a higher-owned 8-in today. So, yeah, Chris Boucher, he's kind of in that second tier of centers. It's like, it's Markieff Morris, or not Markieff Morris. It's Montrezl Harrell all the way up at the top, and then it's like a combination of Jared Allen, Chris Boucher, Dwight Howard, and DeAndre Ayton, probably in that order for me after that. Garrison Matthews looks good. Yeah, he's a nice he's a nice sleeper option if you're looking for one down in that 3K range right now. He's literally projecting out for me for not a lot of fantasy points, but you're hoping for a 20-point game out of him. Hey, Sal, any love for Mason Plumlee? No, not really. Irving or Beal? I'll go Irving. Or I'll go Beal, Irving will be lower owned, like probably half his own, but I'll still take Beal there. You telling us not to play Gasol? I personally am not playing Gasol, and I have 0% interest. I think the 5K range, I think the 5K range is where to play around with tonight if you pay it for the studs. Yeah, there's so many guys in the 5K range. The 5K range is like absolutely loaded. Like there's a lot of yeses or interest for me in the 5K range. You have DeLon Wright, you have Larry Nance Jr., you have Lauri Markkanen, you have Shake Milton, just as like strong options. And then you have so many like lower owned upside type guys. OG Anunoby on a minute standpoint alone can get there. Josh Jackson has a ceiling on him, right? Joe Harris is in that range. Rui Hachimura. A lot of options in the 5K range for sure. How are you projecting Luka today? I'll give you the minutes on Luka. I currently have Luka at 36 minutes. He's a yes for me. He'll be lower owned, but he's probably going to be similarly owned as Westbrook, so I just prefer Westbrook. I have Luka today for 57.93 fantasy points. 57.93 is the most expensive guy in the slate. Harden being the chalk today, can you fade? Is that code for Prize Picks for existing users also? It used to be, like a week or two ago, they had a promo going. I don't know if it ran out already, that even if you already have an account, you can still take advantage of the, just one time though, if you have an account, that code SAL, and you'll get a little bit of a bonus up. I don't know if it still is. You can try it out, but obviously you don't want to deposit if not, so I would email them. But they sent me an email like 2 weeks ago when we first started the deal that even if you're an existing user, this will still work. But I don't know if that was just like a 1 week thing, because they kind of do new promotions like each week for existing users. I have 9K left with shooting guard and utility empty. Any suggestions? Probably a 5K guy and then like Markieff Morris. 5K shooting guys like DeLon Wright and Markieff Morris. I don't know if that adds up. Harden being the chalk, can you fade him today? You can. I'm not really worried about the ownership that he has. If he's going to be like 28% on, I'm not too worried about that. TBH. Would you roster Nance and Jared Allen together? I'd prefer just Nance. Do you like Dwight Howard in a GPP? I would prefer Chris Boucher, but other than that, sure. So thanks for your patience for some of these nasty talking turds in the chat today. Yeah, they're just bots. What are you going to do? Like, I think there was a report that came out from the Wall Street Journal that was like, it's something crazy, like somewhere in the upper 20s to low 30% of the amount of comments on social medias, including YouTube, are just like bots. Which is, pretty crazy if you talk about it, because people are just like arguing with a computer software, which is nuts. So I always appreciate the weekend content. Thanks, and enjoy the dinner. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm going to bounce in a couple of seconds momentarily. What about Tim Hardaway Jr.? He's in a player pool for me. He's still getting the minutes. The price point is creeping up, though. But I have him he's not in a player pool. I have him for 30 minutes today with the price point of 5,700. He's like the last man. He's like one of the 2 or 3 last men out of my player pool. I'm at 26.57 points. Thoughts on Booker today? I prefer Chris Paul. Booker always has a ceiling on him, so he's in play for me from a super draft perspective, because that multiplier looks nice at a 1.35x, but other options for me right now as it tends to DraftKings. Good luck, all. Thanks, Al. No problem, man. Thanks. No problem. Is Nightbot a bot? Nightbot is my bot. I don't know if the Nightbot, does a Nightbot like pop up for you guys? I think if there's like certain things you type in, it'll pop up. I'm actually going to test this out. This can be completely wrong, but let's see if we type in. Actually, I might have turned off the Nightbot. Let's see. Yeah, I might have turned it off. Biggest win and what your thoughts on 150 max, money maker or nah? I mean, 150 max, it depends on the contest you're playing, and it depends on your skill set. So, I mean, in general, if you are playing good contests, not the 40,000 person one, which I personally don't like, if you like your skill set at it, it's good to play. I personally like single entry 3 max, but I do play 150 max. 150 max is a fun game theory game for me, if you will. Single entry 3 max is more of a where can you pivot in 1 or 2 spots and some of these lower field stuff. So my personal interests are in single entry 3 max small field tournaments. 150s are fine, but if you're just throwing 150s in and thinking you're going to win because you're playing 150 lineups now, never going to be the case. Chris Paul or Sexton? Give me Sexton. And Tiger Queer, what a name. He has biggest win. So I guess it depends on the sport. We won 17.7K in the NFL this year in week 3. So that was the biggest win this year overall. In the NBA, I have won 10K and 12K. And then 16.1 or just 16K flat. Those have been my biggest NBA wins. But that being said, you're never going to see me winning 100K or 50K. Maybe 50K, depending on the contest. I just don't play in those contests. Like the 100K to first every week, the Millie Maker, I literally never play in those contests. Sometimes I put one of my lineups in out of like FOMO, like for the NFL and things like that. But they're just, I mean, I played in those contests for like 1 year in high school and 2 years in college. This was like 5-6 years ago. You're never going to win. Maybe you'll win and you'll get lucky. But statistically speaking, those are the worst EV contests to play in. Thoughts on Alex Len? I mean, yeah, fine. If he gets the minutes, he can be decent for you. He's cheap. There's not a lot of center options on the slate. There's not a lot of value on the slate. So I like Alex Len. I was getting in the 20% on him. I'm above the field. Would you play Nance and Laurie in the same lineup? Says Steven. You definitely can. Full King Vetri, what's your opinion on the single entry and how many contestants to target? I love the single entry. It's my favorite contest in DFS. Yeah, the smaller the better. So if you can find, I would stick to like 50 and above. So if you can get to a 80-person contest single entry, I like it. If you can get in, it doesn't have to be expensive buy-ins. Just scroll down the DraftKings contest. They're there. 200-person, 300-person, 400, 500. Yeah, I play in 1,000 ones, 1,000-person fields, but the smaller the better. Thoughts on Kyrie? Prefer Bradley Beal, but Kyrie will be low owned. He's in a player pool. Why don't they have any Time Lord top shots? They don't have any Robert Williams top shots? Yeah, I don't know. Thoughts on playing Kyrie, Westbrook, and Harden today? All three of them? Yeah, I mean, who you playing? Garrison Matthews, Alex Len, Alex Caruso. I mean, maybe if you think all those guys can go off. I mean, if you want to play Markieff Morris and Alex Caruso to try and get there, that makes sense. So I think those are fine. Like, there's decent value that can get there. It just all has to go right. Like Alex Len, Markieff Morris, Alex Caruso. That all has to go right. And then even then, you might still need like Townhorn Tucker, right? So then you can pay out for those three guys, but you need the Harden 80-point game. You need the Westbrook 70-point game. You need the Kyrie 60-point, 50-point game, right? Like 55 to 60. And then all those guys to get you in the 20+. So it's tough. Can you do it all together? Yeah, but everything has to go right. Dennis Schroeder or Chris Paul? Give me... I like Chris Paul more from a projection standpoint. Dennis Schroeder will be very low owned, though. They'll both be kind of low owned. I'll take Schroeder. I'll take Schroeder's upside. DeLon Wright or Thad Young? DeLon Wright. Got to take a lot of shots on the low owned guys who project poorly to take down some of the 100K up top in the NBA. Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's why I don't like it, right? You have to just force your way into playing guys who suck and hoping and crossing your fingers and singing Kumbaya and jumping up and down and doing a rain dance outside that's your lucky night, that the two sucky players that you played hit, right? Not one of them hit, but both of them hit. So, I mean, why play in a 40,000 person contest for that to have to be the way that you win when the 1% owned guy is owned by 4,000 people, whereas that guy is 1% owned in a 500 person contest and he's literally owned by 5 people. So like, you're fine. You're not going to lose because of that guy. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to tilt as much. That's why I don't really tilt that much in DFS. You just kind of set it and forget it as part of it, but then also I don't have to worry about the 1% owned guy going for 55 fantasy points out of nowhere, out of the blue. DeLon Wright popping off, or Dylan Brooks like randomly at 2% owned pops off for 10 threes. Terry Rozier pops off for 10 threes, right? Those nights that happens, it doesn't matter to me. It's not like affecting what I'm doing. Thoughts on McCall Bridges? Just a fine option. Do you like Melo tonight? No. McCall Bridges is fine. He's always fine. He's going to play 33 minutes, and he's going to project out right around for what he's priced at, so he's appropriately priced. I'm playing in a sub 1,000 person player pool entry tonight. Let's go. There you go. Caruso, Tucker, and Caldwell Pope, good budget players to fill in. Yeah, they're all good budget players. Alrighty, gang, I'm going to bounce. I'm going to go eat some pasta and meatballs and bread. So peace out, everybody. Best of luck. Be sure to check out Prize Picks. The top props right now, in my opinion, are over on Laurie Marketing, 27 points. But the biggest one, Right now, CJ McCollum, 29 points is the over. Like, just smash that. I have him at 36 points and change. Pair this up with as many other things as you want to. We talked about some more options earlier in the video. If you want to date back to that, about 20 minutes into the video, so you can kind of skip around to that part. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe before you go. You can use the code SAL if you want to check out Prize Picks. Code SAL, they'll free money bonus match you up to $100. So you put in $20, you get 20 back. You put it all the way up to 100, they'll give you 100 back as well. So you can check that all out. Linked down below. Yo, my guy, do we play Gasol for value? No, I have him for 11 projected points. I personally will not. So that's where I'm at. You can check out the optimizer that we showed in the video. We built some lineups with it, some decent looking lineups. I'm going to be trying to get to 2 studs today and seeing what happens there. If you want to check out the optimizer, we have projections, ranks, referenced, my top plays, top ranked plays, rated plays, all that type of stuff linked right there down below as well. Thank you for tuning in. Best of luck. Tomorrow's Monday. It's going to be tough to make golf content play, which is it's almost like if you can picture, it's groupings of 4 golfers that when they win, and whoever wins in that day moves on to the next round of groupings. So it's tough. You get out of the group stage and then you're kind of in a bracket after that. So it's tough. The match plays pretty tough to, one, they're going to have DFS contests for it, but tough to break down from. You just kind of have to understand a game theory of like not taking the same guys in the same group because they both can't win and move forward. So we'll have some sort of content for golf this week, and then we'll keep moving forward with the NBA content. So hit the notification bell so you're live of when we're going. So when you're notified of when we're going live. Somebody says, can you scroll down for your Lakers minutes today? Yes, here's my Lakers minutes, and we'll close on that. I'm fine with the bigger contests in the NFL, though, because you get 1 to 2% owned guys with a reasonable chance of production. I guess. I mean, it has nothing to do with the 1 to 2% owned guys with a reasonable chance of production. It has everything to do with the bigger owned contests. You're playing in a 100,000 person Millie Maker, a 200,000 person Millie Maker. You're playing the lottery. It's as simple as that. Your chances of winning in a 100 person field is 1%, right? Just not even if you assume everybody has the same skill level, which is nowhere near the case, right? Everybody having the same skill level is not the case. So your chances of winning in a 100,000 person Millie Maker, when they're usually more than that, they're usually like 140,000, is 0.001%. No, 0.001%. So 1/1000th of a percent to win in a normal NFL Millie Maker is actually much lower than that. And then you take into account that your skill level is probably not the best in the entire field, which drops you down if you think that you're a below average player. And if you're only playing one lineup compared to other people who are skilled playing 150 lineups, 50 lineups, 80 lineups, 100 lineups, it drops you down even more from a leverage standpoint of what you can do with that one lineup. I love the golf. Yeah, the match play is going to be a lot of fun this week. Then we have the Masters. Lots of nice golf coming up. Morris or Tucker in a single entry. I prefer Morris, or I prefer Tucker. He'll be higher owned. You can probably go to both, though. All right, best of luck. Peace out, gang. See ya all in the next one. Bro, my cousin won 100K, so people be winning. I mean, yeah, here's the thing. People win the lottery. People win the Mega Ball, the Powerball. You still shouldn't play that. It's the worst EV decision out there. But people play it because they like the idea of maybe it happens to them, and then they die at 80 years old after investing $100,000 into the lottery. Terrible investment, right? We know that. And hopefully we know that. It's the same thing. You see somebody on Twitter post a screenshot. They're the one person that out of the 10,000 that see it, that's probably going to win $100,000 within the next 2 or 3 years. If you have an endless amount of money that you're willing to spend on this, you can win $100,000. You can try for 5 to 10 years and put 80 grand into it and then win $100,000. If you don't have an endless amount of money and you're going to stop after $5,000 of playing in DFS this year, whatever it might be, you're then going to lose those $5,000 way, way more times before you actually hit that prize. That's all I'm trying to say. All right, you drop a like, guys, before you leave. Check out Sal's Patreon. Says Skylar, it's fire. My man Skylar be binking shit left and right on Prize Picks, on DraftKings. So best of luck, everybody. Peace out. I'm going to eat some food.